So my name is Jasmine Hernandez. I'm a workforce outreach specialist with Workforce Solutions. And today with me, we have Miss Geneva Scott, who will she will be presenting to you guys later on in the upcoming weeks. And today we're going to be talking about interview skills, specifically tips for successful interviews. If you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. And if you put 3 question marks, we'll know to find it in case it gets lost between all the comments. So we're going to start off with an activity. So when it comes to an interview, a lot of people get a little nervous and agitated just thinking about the word interview. So we are going to start with a word cloud. If we go to the next slide, if you hover your cell phone, if you have a cell phone, you open your camera and hover it around the QR code, it is going to open up the activity. If not, I do have the link that goes directly to it. And you are going to answer, how does the word interview make you feel? So let me go ahead and put the link on here. So again, if you have a cell phone, you just hover it over the QR code and it's going to open a link and you can enter your responses. And we'll give it a minute. Okay, so we have a couple of answers coming in. So as you can see on the screen, the biggest word that popped up is nervous. And a lot of people do feel nervous. I know that even if you've done 10 interviews, 20 interviews, you still have that little anxious feeling, which is our second word, stressed or worried. Now there's one that says excited. It might be because you have that adrenaline pumping and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get this job. It's gonna be all right. I was doing this presentation with my son, and when I was asking him this question, and he's 8, I asked him, okay, how does that make you feel? You've never had an interview. He's like, well, it would make me feel happy because that means that I have the opportunity to get a job, which means I will get money and be able to buy toys for myself, right? So there's an array of feelings that you can feel, but definitely nervous and anxious is one of them, or 2 of them. And we're going to give you some tips on how hopefully they'll help you prevent you from stressing out and things like that. So we can go to the next one. So what is an interview? So this is like a really, really good description that I found online, and we're going to share it with you. An interview is a conversation in which you and an employer exchange information. Your objective is to get an offer of a job, and the employer's objective is to find out the following: what you have to offer, your skills, abilities, basic knowledge, who you are, your personality, your character and interest, and why you should be hired, if you have what they're seeking or what it takes. The interviewer will try to determine whether you will be an asset to the organization. Remember, you want to be an asset, not something else, right? You want to be something positive. Your goal is to present yourself as the best candidate for the position and also learn more about the position and the interviewer's organization to determine whether both of you are well suited, if both are well suited for you or your career goals. Thus, the interview is a two-way discussion rather than an interrogation, and as it is often perceived to be. So a lot of people see it as a negative way, but you should see it more as a discussion. So there's different types of interviews, and there's 2 categories that I would put them in. The first one is in person, and the second one is virtual. Under in person, we have the traditional, which is the most common one. So in a traditional interview, normally it's you as a job seeker or the interviewee and the interviewer. And normally it's a conversation where the interviewer is asking the interviewee questions. Then we have a panel interview. So if it's something a little bit more professional, sometimes you will have a panel interview, which means that it's going to be one person, you as the interviewee, and then sometimes you will have a panel of interviewers, 2 or more people there. So they're asking you questions. And in that type of interview, you are going to see that sometimes they're not going to be making eye contact with you, but they're going to be writing down everything that you're saying so they can compare notes later on and see if you're the best candidate for that position. A third one is a group interview. So normally with interviews, there's competition going on, and you are aware most of the time that there's other people applying for that job and they're also getting interviewed. But with a group interview, I believe I would be the most stressed out with this one because all of you are being interviewed at the same time. So it can be a group of people and you have to make sure that you're the one that stands out. So normally these types of interviews are more for customer service related positions because they want somebody that is going to be confident, that they're going to know what they're talking about, that they're not shy. And this is where you have to show off your skills and your personal abilities and show your interpersonal skills, everything like that. When it comes to virtual, we have the live interviews. So live means that you are on a computer and or on a mobile phone, any type of device that has internet, and the other person is also connected at the same time and they're asking you questions and you're responding, so it's more of a conversation compared to one that's called on demand. So on demand is a little bit, in my opinion, it's a little bit more stressful because you already have the set of questions already noted down. Normally you go question by question, but you're just talking to yourself. So you're reading the question or there's something that sounds it off or reads it out to you, but then there's nobody to make eye contact with, there's nobody to converse with or to ask you to further explain yourself. It's just you talking to a computer. So it's, if you turn on your screen, it's a blank thing and you're just talking to it. So that on-demand interview normally gives the employer the opportunity to view how you respond. And sometimes they are used in order to vet you out to see if you have what it takes to give you another interview, either in person or a live one virtually. When it comes to preparation, so if you prepare for interviews, that's going to make you feel more comfortable and confident about what's going on. And we have a little legend right here. So anything that you see with a red asterisk is going to be for in person. The green asterisk will be virtual live, and then the purple one, virtual on demand. So for interview time, you have to be aware at what time your interview is. If it's at 10 a.m., if it's at 3 p.m., you want to know that. That way you can know how much time you have to prepare beforehand. Also the date, that's a big important one as well. The name of the interviewer. So if you are going to be meeting with somebody in person or virtually live, you have to know who the person that you're speaking with is. If it is not noted in the email that they send you or when they called you, make sure that when you introduce yourself, normally they will say their name and then you catch onto that and you make note of it. Copies of your resume if you're going in person, even though you have already submitted your resume, if you've uploaded your resume when you completed the application, make sure that you take extra copies of your resume. I would recommend at least 2 if it's one more person interviewing you. That way you can keep one for yourself and you can reference back when you're speaking about your experience. Also the address of the location. Sometimes they will be hiring, let's say at Home Depot, but the interview will actually be located, let's say at Workforce Solutions. There's some employers that go and do the interviews at that location. You have to make sure that you know the exact location of where your interview is. Do not assume that it's going to be at the same location where you're planning to work. And then also make sure that you know how to get to that location and how long it takes. Because if not, you can take off, put it on your GPS, and what if it sends you to the wrong location? Also the deadline. So if it's on demand, normally what they do, they'll send you a link, and in the link or below the link, it's going to tell you, okay, you have until 3 days from now, 72 hours, you have 5 days to complete or a week to complete by 11:59 p.m. You have to make sure that you meet that deadline. If not, you cannot submit an interview and you've lost your opportunity. Also with on-demand virtual interviews, sometimes depending on the employer, they will allow you to retry your answers. So let's say that they ask you, what is an instance where you resolved a conflict with a coworker? You will have an opportunity to record yourself once, and then if you don't like it, you can record yourself twice or 3 times. You have to be aware of how many times you have to record, because if you believe that you have more than what you actually have, on the last one that you actually have, it's going to send it out to that employer. And then time provided for the interview. If it's in person, if it's virtual, but it's live or virtual on demand. If it's virtual on demand, you'll have a countdown telling you how much time you have left to answer. Sometimes when you meet somebody in person, they'll let you know, okay, we have 30 minutes to complete this interview. I know that I've done panel interviews where they give me 45 minutes to complete an interview. If that's the case, do not feel obligated to go through the full 45 minutes. If you can get your point across within 30 minutes, that's fine. Now, if you answer the questions and it's 10 questions within 5 minutes, then that might be an issue. And then also when it's a live interview virtually, that can also be the case, but you have to keep in mind that you have to keep it within that time frame because they may have other people that are waiting to be interviewed as well, and they may cut you off later on. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into in-person interviews. So when it comes to the dress code, the first thing is clothing. If you are going to apply, let's say at Walgreens compared to a law firm, maybe the way that you dress, your attire may be a little bit different. It still has to be professional though. So the two most common ones are business casual and business professional attire. When it comes to business casual, if you are a male, you can wear a button-up shirt with short sleeves, or you can wear polos, some slacks, a belt, right? Some nice dress shoes. Female, you can wear a blouse, a polo, skirt, or pants. If you do not have the budget for it and you really want to go to the interview, but let's say that you don't have the money to buy slacks, you can wear jeans. Just make sure that there's no rips on your jeans and that they're as dark as possible. Now, with the business professional attire, if we go back to the last one, that one for a male, normally they'll wear a blazer and a tie, a conservative color, so black or brown or navy blue, something like that, nothing fluorescent. And then for a female as well, a blazer or a button-up shirt as well with trousers. Next, we have hair. So make sure that your hair is nicely placed, right? You don't want your hair all crazy on the camera or in person. If you are a male, make sure that your beard and your mustache are trimmed. You don't want your hair all over the place, especially if you're going to be applying at, let's say, McDonald's and you're applying to be a cook. You don't want your facial hair everywhere. When it comes to makeup, a lot of females and some males do wear makeup, right? We have to make sure that if it's for an interview, that it is simple. So a light colored lipstick. If you wear fake eyelashes, it's fine. I know there's fake eyelashes for daytime and there's fake eyelashes from when you go to weddings or quinceañeras. If that's going to be what you're going to wear, make sure that you wear the more conservative ones. Do not wear glitter as eyeshadow. So try to make it simple. Another thing that's kind of related to the makeup is tattoos, kind of, because it's kind of decorations, right? So if you do have tattoos, make sure that you cover them up. They may be okay with you having tattoos, but for an interview, make sure that if you have them on your wrist, you wear a long sleeve shirt. If you have them anywhere on your neck, make sure that you wear something with a collar or even put makeup on top of it. When it comes to jewelry, you can wear earrings or necklaces as long as it's not huge. When it comes to the necklaces, the earrings, try to keep them simple as well. If you are a male, our demographic area is a little bit different than Austin. We're not as open-minded, or the employers might not be as open-minded. So try to remove your piercing if you have one in your ear if you're a male. Definitely no piercings on your face. Now, when you do get the job, and if on the manual it says that you can wear piercings, go for it. Good for you, right? But when it comes to an interview, you want to show yourself as good as possible, or as in your best way. So try to remove that. And then when it comes to perfume and cologne, a little bit, if you're going in person a little bit, you can spray it. Don't soak yourself in it because some people may be sensitive to that and they may not like it. And then if you are applying to work, for example, at a nursing home because you're graduating with a certification as a CNA, some nursing homes require for you not to wear any perfume or cologne. And then the last one is footwear. So make sure that you wear some nice dressy shoes if you're a male, preferably black or brown. If you are going to wear them, make sure that your shoelaces are tied. Females, flats, wedges, heels are fine. If it's in an interview, we would want to stay away from open toe shoes because that may be a little too central for the workplace. Now, if it's okay with the employer later on when you get hired, then go for it. You definitely do not want to wear flip-flops for an interview. When I used to be a career counselor, I had somebody that I sent out to a dentist office to apply as an office clerk or a medical secretary, I apologize. and she went in shorts and flip-flops. That's a big no-no. When it comes to tennies, do not wear anything that you would wear to the gym, unless the only exception to that would be if you're applying to work at Foot Locker, at Shoe Carnival, or anything like that. Now, if you do not have the budget to buy nice dressy shoes, you can wear solid colored tennies, either black or white or brown, depending on what it is, but try to stay away from something that has a lot of pop of color until you get hired. I like to wear heels that are blue, red, and stuff like that, but I did not do that in my interview. Some additional items: make sure that you're respectful, that when you walk into the building, even if it's not the person that's going to interview you, if it's the secretary, that you say hello, good morning. They're watching everything that you're doing, so make sure that you say thank you as well. Also, going back to it, once you're done with the interview, make sure that you thank the person that provided you with the interview. You have to make sure that you are aware of the situations around you. So you do not know if the person that's interviewing you, if their window is to the parking lot. So as soon as you park your vehicle, you have to be like top notch on it. You cannot get off the vehicle and throw your gum or throw a water bottle off the car. When you get out, they're going to be watching if you're on your phone or anything like that. And everything, you have to make sure that you're aware of everything that's going around you. So we're going to go and show you a little video. We click on it so you can see what we're talking about.
So what happened?
Oh, it was horrible. And the interview part went so well. You know, I even made him laugh. He said something about a boat, and I was like, well, yeah, if you've got enough life jackets. Trust me, it was very funny. Anyway, so we were saying goodbye, and,
What happened?
all right, we were shaking hands, and he kind of leaned in toward me. You know, maybe he was going to open the door, but I totally misread him, and
You kissed him?
I didn't know what else to do.
Well, you could have tried not kissing him.
Thanks, Chandler.
Hey, Rach, a guy from Ralph Lauren called. You got a second interview.
Okay, so as we go through the presentation, we are going to continue following Rachel's journey. But as you can see, she was not perceiving the situation in a very good way. So she assumed that that's what he wanted. So that's also what we're talking about when it comes to awareness. Make sure that if you are interviewing in person, that you sit across from the interviewer. You don't want to sit to the corner. You want to make sure that you can see them and they can see you as well. Again, take at least 2 copies of your resume. That way you can provide them a copy for themselves, even though they've already seen it. When you uploaded your application, it's good and it shows that you're prepared. And then take a pen and a notepad to write down any notes, any questions that you may have, or any comments that they may make. Go ahead and write that down. When it comes to virtual interviews, we're going to go through it a little bit deeper as well. So technology has really taken over, and there's an array of different platforms for virtual interviews. Some of them are Zoom, there's Google Meet, there's GoToMeetings, there's Teams, and there is Skype as well. And then we also have one that you are more than welcome to use, and some employers use it, which is called Interview Stream. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. So when it comes to technology, there's a lot of good things about technology. They help you out a lot, but you have to be very careful. So you have to make sure that your device is charged. You don't want to be going through an interview and then for your computer to turn off, because if it does that in between an interview, if it's on demand, you do not know if you're going to be given the opportunity to click back on the link, or if you're doing a virtual interview live, it's going to seem a little disrespectful if you tell them like, hold on, give me a second, let me go get my charger. Make sure that you test the connection. Make sure that your internet's working. If it's not working, make sure that you go to a location that has good internet. You do not want to be disconnected during your interview. Again, if it's an on-demand interview, it may happen where you can log in back into the link. Complete any updates. I know most of you have been doing stuff virtually. I don't know if it happens to you guys, but with mine, if I have any updates, normally it takes about 20 minutes for them to actually complete, and I can't log in into my computer until that happens. So if you have something important that you have to do, like an interview, make sure that you restart your computer a couple of hours beforehand. That way it doesn't turn off on you, because there are times that you can keep on dismissing your updates, but then what happens after a while is that the computer doesn't care anymore. And they're like, you know what? You have 5 minutes, save everything that you have, and it shuts down on you and you can't control it. And then turn off any notifications. And that has to do with your emails on your computer. If you have Google Meets, if you have Teams, anything that you have on your computer. And not only that, also on your cell phone. Some people put their cell phones on vibrate, and if you have them close to you, you can still hear them. So put them on do not disturb. Just don't forget to turn it back on. I know that last time it took me 3 days to remember, but make sure that you turn off any notifications. And that also applies to when you're doing it in person. If you have your cell phone, make sure you shut it off completely, or you put it on do not disturb, because even if you put it on your backpack or in your purse, if it vibrates, you're going to hear all the little coins jingle in there. When it comes to your environment, always be aware of your surroundings. Limit distractions for yourself and for those viewing your camera. So I'm going to go ahead and do something really fast so you could see what I'm talking about. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see my camera or my background, but my background right now is the same one that we have on the screen. So guys, if I'm talking to you right now and if you're interviewing me, are you going to be paying attention to what I'm saying? Are you going to try to see, where is it? This one, what type of cup it is, if it's from McDonald's, Whataburger. Oh, there's a yoga ball. I wonder if she works out. Oh my gosh, her clothes. That means that she is not going to be very responsible about her items. So you have to make sure that you clean your area and that there's nothing that's distracting. That also includes minimizing distractions that are not visible, but maybe that people can hear. I have kids, so when I do presentations or anything like that, I have to make sure that my kids are out of my room. So if you are a student, you probably have siblings that are either younger or older than you, or even parents. If you are going to be completing an interview, let them know that you are going to be busy, and for them to give you at least an hour so you can concentrate and do that, and they don't distract you. You don't want your mom yelling like, hey, ya lavaste la ropa, tiraste la basura. That's not what you want, like, the person that's interviewing to hear. It may be a little bit funny, but some people might not like it. Make sure that you have a professional background. So if you do have the possibility to, you can create a virtual background that it's just a solid color. You do not want for things like this in the back to be shown. If not, what you can do as well is that you can sit your computer, or you can place your computer on a solid wall. A lot of people in our area have a lot of cuadros in the back. That can be a little distracting. I know I'm one of them where I'm like, oh, what's that? Like, what do they have in the back? So make sure that everything is solid, it's plain. And then also that something else that can help you out is if you put a curtain or a blanket, if your parents allow you to place it on the wall so it can be nice and neat. Good lighting. You do not want to be placed in a room where there's no light. People want to see what you're doing and your facial expressions. Something that I heard from our communications guy is that if you have a window, do not sit with your back towards the window if it's open, because it's going to make your face look like a shadow. And then the last one, definitely do not be eating and drinking while an interview, especially a virtual one. We've had people, we do provide feedback for interviews, and we have people that they're eating a taco while they're answering their interviews, or they're drinking their Whataburger drink and then they slurp during the interview. So definitely just wait a little bit and put it to the side. Now, if you're doing an on-demand interview and you have a little break in between the questions and you're thirsty, when people get nervous, they get thirsty. Go ahead and drink a little bit of water, but do not do it during an interview. And then always be camera ready. So follow your dress code. Make sure that the way that you would dress for an interview in person, make sure that you also dress like that in a virtual interview. There's this video that we've seen that has gone viral where it's a man and he's having an interview and the employer sends him a fax So he gets up and he's really nicely dressed with a tie and a blazer. He gets up and he's in boxers. So you do not know if that's going to happen or anything like that. So make sure that you're dressed from top to bottom. Before joining, view your camera. That way you could see. Normally you'll have the option to see what they're going to see. That way you can see what they can see on the background and that everything looks good. Also check your angle. So I'm going to get really close to my camera. So make sure that your camera is not like here where they can only see that, or that they can only see your forehead. Like, how would you feel if I'm talking to you and you can only see my big forehead? That's going to be a little bit distracting. Another angle that a lot of people use and that it's not the best angle for them is, and I'm sorry if anybody has it like that on the meeting, no offense, right? But if they like to, or they tend to put the camera under their face so you can see up somebody's nostrils. Again, that's not the best view. So just make sure that they can see your whole face and that it's not in a bad angle. And then look at the camera when you're doing your interview. Make sure that you're looking straight at it. So overall, when it comes to nonverbal communication, that applies to live, in person, or virtual. Make sure that your posture is good, that you're not slouching. Imagine if I was speaking to you and I was sitting like that. That can be a little bit distracting and people may not like that. Make sure that you are aware of your facial expressions. A lot of people are very expressive with their face and it's good, right? You don't want to be robotic and just very firm. Imagine if I was talking to you and there was no movement. But if you do not like a question or if it surprises you, make sure that you are aware of how your eyebrows are and that you're not going like that or making faces or looking mad or anything like that. Make sure that you have a friendly demeanor. Move your arms. If you talk, when you speak, if you move your arms, do it because it's going to be more natural. Do not sit in person or virtually. Imagine if I was talking to you with my arms crossed like that. Would I look very friendly? Probably not. And that's the perception that you're going to give the person giving you the interview. Make sure that you do eye contact or make eye contact in person, especially also on the camera. If you're doing it virtually, make sure that you're looking straight onto the camera. It's going to give you the perception that they're actually looking at you. Avoid fidgeting. So even though people talk with their arms, that sometimes that's not as much as fidgeting. Fidgeting is more of like I'm talking and I'm playing with my hair and I just don't stop, right? We had a meeting last Friday where there was a man and he was speaking. So his camera was open and the whole time he was moving his arm like this and we could only see him from the waist up. So it was very distracting as he was speaking. So imagine if you're going like this, or if you're in person and you're super nervous and you're rubbing your shoes against the floor and it's just making this little squeak, squeak, squeak. So just try to relax and try to avoid that movement. Refrain from yawning. Sometimes it's hard to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're bored, but some people may take it as if you're bored. I know that I yawn a lot, but it's because I need oxygen in my brain. So my body naturally does it. If it does happen, just try to keep it in your mouth and don't open your whole mouth like wide open. And then avoid looking around at your phone or down. Sometimes when we get nervous, what we do is that we look at least I do, I look at my hands and I'm pretending to be distracted by something else. Or while you're answering, imagine if I was speaking to you and I was just looking to the side, that might be distracting. You have to make sure that you're not looking around. And first of all, you shouldn't have your phone at all. So that should be out of the question, but just in case, do not do that. So we have a couple of things that can help you with your interview questions. So take your time when you're answering your questions. Make sure that you process what they're asking you. That way you can give a good response. Be aware of the length of your answer. Make sure that it's not only like no, yes, maybe. Make sure that you provide enough information, but do not go and answer a question where you're taking 3, 4, 5 minutes. Be honest about yourself. Do not lie just to make yourself look good, because at the end of the day, that's actually going to make you look bad. Don't discuss your personal life. The only exception would be if you are giving an example of like, you know what, I'm in my personal life, I do community service, I like interacting with people. That looks good if you're applying for a customer service position, but don't talk about how, you know, I have a boyfriend and my boyfriend doesn't like for me to talk to other guys. Nothing like that, nothing personal, especially if it's something negative. don't flirt. I know sometimes it's a little bit natural to do so, but what I mean about flirting is saying maybe comments that you shouldn't, or maybe playing with your hair while you're talking to somebody. Or if it's in person, the proximity. If you're touching somebody in their arm, they might take it as you're like as if you're flirting. Or if you touch them in the lower back, or if you get too close to them, and that may make other people feel uncomfortable. Tell stories. That way you can describe your examples and make sure that will, if you tell a story, like for example, if they ask you, okay, tell me about a time that you resolved a conflict or an issue with a peer or anything like that. If you tell a story and give an example, that's going to give them a better idea of how you are or who you are. Ask for the questions to be rephrased. If you do not understand what they're asking you, do not just automatically answer what you think they want to hear. Make sure that you ask for them to clarify it or for them to rephrase it in a different way so you can understand it. Avoid filler words. So when people get nervous or you're trying to think about something to say and you don't take your time to process it, you'll say the words a lot, and it's normal. You've heard me a little bit earlier. But if you say like, I mean, especially if you're saying it 3 times within like 30 seconds, that can be a little distracting as well. Listen more than you speak. So listen to what they're actually asking you before you answer the question. And the last one, do ask questions. So if they ask you at the very end of the interview, hey, do you have any questions for me? Sometimes the employers will have a rubric where if you do not ask a question, they will actually deduct points. So the most common and easiest answers or questions to ask would be, okay, what is the turnaround period and how long do I expect to hear from you if I do get hired? Or you can ask, what do you expect from me in the first 30 days, in the first 60 days, in the first 90 days? Or the last one would be, what would be the process from here? Okay, so these are some bonus tips. So be optimistic. Don't go in saying like, oh my gosh, it's going to go really bad. I'm not going to get it. You know, you are going to get whatever energy you put out. So if you're optimistic, the person that's going to give you the interview, they're going to see that. Nobody wants somebody that's negative. Also, be on time. You do not want to get there late. So make sure that you get there at least 15 minutes earlier, but no more than 20, because then they may feel a little rushed. Make sure that you are aware of your appearance. You want to make sure that you look good if it's in person or if it's on camera. Make sure that if you ate a snack earlier, that you don't have crumbs on your mouth, right? That can be a little distracting. That you don't have anything in the corners of your eyes, that your hair is not messed up, that you do not have anything hanging from your nose. That if you get out, sometimes with button-up shirts, I know that I gained a little bit of weight. So if I'm wearing a button-up shirt and I'm sitting down and I get up, sometimes when I'm sitting down, my shirt opens up a little bit from the button, right? So if you're in person, make sure that everything is well done on your shirt, that nothing's opened, your zipper's up, that your shoelaces are tight. And then we're going to show you a little video, if you can click on the notepad, on why appearances or being aware of your appearance is important. And again, we're going to continue Rachel's journey.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Come on in.
Okay.
It's really nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Oh, Rachel,
What?
just,
Excuse me?
yeah, let me...
Whoa! All right. Okay, I see what's going on here. Now, listen, look. I am sorry if I have given you the wrong impression, but I am not some hussy who will just sleep around to get ahead. Now, even though I kissed you, that does not give you the right to demand from me. I do not want this job that bad. Good day, sir.
And also be aware if you're muted, like it happened to me right now. So we're going to go back to our bonus tips. So what happened right here is that Rachel was fidgeting a lot. She was nervous. So she started playing with her pen, and she started playing a lot with it where it started getting ink around her mouth. So she was not able to see herself. So she assumed that the boss or the employer was trying to say something else, when in reality, he just wanted to make sure that she was aware that she had ink in her mouth. Make sure that you are aware of the interviewer's name. You do not want to go in there and call them by the wrong name. I've seen it happening or happen where people call them a different name. I don't know if it's maybe they're like, you know what, as long as I call them something, it should be fine. If you do not know their name, don't make up a name. If you do not know how to pronounce it, do not try to pronounce it. If you are not 100% sure how to pronounce it, where you're going to be completely off, the safest way or the safest bet would be to say sir or ma'am, right? But make sure that you are aware of their name, because when you're answering, you want to make sure that you state their name so they can be aware that you're talking to them. And it makes you look more confident. And then when you thank them, you're also going to say, thank you for this interview, Mr. Garza or Mr. Jones. That way it can be more personal. And then sell yourself. Make sure that you do everything possible so they can know that you're the best candidate for the position. So again, we're going to go ahead and continue with Rachel's journey through her interview, and we're going to see how she does.
First, I would like to say thank you for agreeing to see me again.
That's quite all right, but I feel obligated to tell you that this meeting is being videotaped.
Okay. Well, first, I would like to start by apologizing for kissing you and for yelling at you.
Fair enough.
Now, you're probably going to hire one of the people who did not yell at you and storm out, and I think that's a big mistake. And here's why: I made a huge fool of myself, and I came back. That shows courage. When I thought you wanted in exchange for this job, I said no. That shows integrity. And I was not afraid to stand up for myself, and that shows courage. Okay. Now, I know that I've already said courage, but, you gotta have courage. And finally, when I thought you were making advances in the workplace, I said no, and I was not litigious. So there you go. You got courage, you got integrity, you got courage again, and not litigious. Look, Mr.
Zellner.
Zellner, I knew that. Oh, I knew that. I really, really want this job, and I think I would be really good at it.
You know what? I may regret this, but I'm going to give you a shot.
Oh, you are?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Oh, thank you. Oh, would it be completely inappropriate if I gave you a hug?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then how about a handshake? Oh, God, I'm sorry. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I did not mean to touch that. I mean you. There. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to leave. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Hey, I'll see you Monday. Okay.
So as we can see, Rachel went through a whole journey where she kind of messed up on the first time. The second time there was a misunderstanding, but on the third time she was able to sell herself, and she was able to provide examples of why she was the best candidate, and she was able to get the job. So if you are going to have an interview either live, virtually, or in person, make sure that you eat a little snack. That way your stomach is not growling. I know sometimes when I get nervous, my stomach tends to growl even louder than normal. Just make sure that you do not eat a lot where you're going to be winded or you're going to be burping during the interview. Make sure if you're going in person that you check your breath. Sometimes going is not enough, so make sure that you have a little mint. Do not chew gum because that can be a little distracting, and that doesn't look very professional either. And then do your research. Make sure that you are aware of what position you're applying for, what are the duties, of what they expect from you, if it's part-time, full-time, if you're going to have any benefits, and also research the company. That way you can know who the customers are, what they expect from you, and if that's a good match for you in reality. So really quickly, we do have Interview Stream Prep, which is a platform that we utilize, and that can be a separate presentation that we can do for you guys. But we're going to go ahead and skip the video. And we're going to talk to you about the controls. So through Interview Stream Prep, you can customize interviews so you can practice virtual interviews. You have the ability to decide what questions you want to be asked, how many times you get to retry, how much time you have to think about the answer, and how long you have to answer those questions. So once you're done, you get to view your recording. On the right side, you will see the questions that were asked, and then you get to press play on each one of them, and you can add comments as you go. There's a filler word counter on the bottom. It does not say the filler word. So if you say the word 5 times in one question or while answering one question, you can click, and then put it in the comments. That way you can be aware of that. And then there's an assessment. So we go to the next section, and we can provide feedback, which has to do with the assessment. So we can go to the next slide. So in the assessment, you can provide feedback for yourself, or you can request feedback from us, Workforce Solutions, from your parents, friends, teachers, counselors, anybody that you may want. And you can be rated through nonverbal communication, verbal communication, and then others. Others is more of the way that you respond. The ratings can be either good, excellent, needs improvement, or not applicable. And that way you can view what you need assistance with, and you can redo it again and practice. The more you practice, the better you'll do. And then next we have our Padlet. So if we get our phone out, if you want to get it out, you can open your camera and then hover it over the QR code. If not, I will provide you the link in the chat. And this Padlet has additional resources that you can use. So we have them right here. So if we click on that, on the first column, you are going to have our email. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. It's myself, Jasmine Hernandez, and it has my email right there. And then Ms. Geneva Scott, you have her email there. And again, Ms. Geneva Scott will be providing you a presentation in the upcoming weeks. Next to it, we have our link to our interview stream prep. If you decide that you want to practice your interviews, you can do it on your own, or you can request for us to help you out. So you can click on the link that will take you directly to the website. We have a virtual interviews tips flyer. If it's easier for you to look at the tips, we covered most of that information during the presentation. Below that, we have a virtual interviews tips video. It's less than 3 minutes, and it's a funny video of what you should not do while you're doing a virtual interview. Because of time, we're not going to be playing it right now, but you're more than welcome to play it whenever you want. Next to it, we have additional resources. So we can open the flyer, Geneva. So the additional resources were obtained from our youth curriculum. So the first one is 5 interview skills to get you hired, and it talks about clarifying interview questions, nonverbal communication, and then doing your research. Below that, we have the practice interview skills. So it does have a set of questions that are normally asked. And then below that, it gives you tips on how to answer those questions, or what to do when you're answering those questions, which also were part of our presentation. And then we have the job interview tips poster, which has a couple more tips. Again, most of them you will find during our presentation. I know it says firm handshake. So just be aware that because of COVID, a lot of employers are not giving you a handshake. If they do request for you to shake their hand, make sure that it is a firm one. Take hand sanitizer. A lot of employers are doing the fist pump, so just be aware of that, or just no physical contact whatsoever. And then the last one, we have the do's and don'ts of interviewing. So just if it makes it easier for you to see it in that format, we have it right there. And that is accessible to you. We are going to have it available until the end of the month for you to access. And then after that, that's it. I believe that's the end of our presentation. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to enter it in the chat.